he gonna run away with my money?
Does she think she's going to be a trophy wife or something?
Leave me high and dry?
She's giving my money to her family? Hey guys, so it's Charles and Z. We're sitting in front of Costco, of course, and we got some Starbucks, so we're all caffeinated, and we thought we'd take a minute to have a little cart chitty chat, and we want to talk about our finances.
Yay, finances. Do you want to kind of intro our backgrounds as far as finances before we met?
Okay, yeah. So this is what makes it kind of interesting, we think. So I'm an actuary. I've been practicing in my field for 20 years, 20 plus years actually. That's weird. And I was kind of established with my life. With my previous wife who passed away, we had two kids. They're now 7 and 6, and I bought a house. We bought a house together. Accumulated some savings. So I kind of had my own financial thing going before Z and I met. And now with Z, her situation is a little bit different. I'll let her talk about it.
Yeah, so Charles and I met when I was about 32, 33-ish. And I was in my first year of residency, and residencies paid training for physicians, but you get very little money. And we got married in 2022, so approximately 3 years ago
3 years
is when
ago.
we got married. And I was in my second year of residency at that time. Now we are 3 years into marriage. That's crazy to say.
Yep. We have a baby together.
We have a baby together. He just turned 1. Yay. And I've been practicing for about 2 years, almost 2 years now. I took some time off after I had our little one. And we both, I think, come from different backgrounds in regards to our viewpoint of finances and merging finances. I come from a family where I'm a first generation college graduate, and how we kind of operate is each one help one, so to speak. Meaning that I always grew up with the mindset that, yes, I was going to go to college and try to have a good career, but I would also be helping my family, right? Because my mother and my father, they don't make a lot, hardworking, but they don't make a lot. So I always came into adulthood with the perspective, once I start having a decent salary, I would be helping my family members. In addition, I was also the mindset that once I finished residency and started working as an attending physician, I would be aggressively paying back my loans. So that's where I was coming from as far as my background and my perspective. And I'll let you kind of discuss your perspective coming into our relationship.
My family was a little bit different. We don't really, I want to say we don't help other people, but growing up, we were very much. Everybody kind of does their own thing financially. People are responsible for making sure they have enough money to retire, to make their own ends meet. If people run on hard times, then usually they were kind of looked at like, oh, well, it's their responsibility to figure out how to make things work for themselves. So we really didn't treat money as such a communal thing.
And let me interject.
Yeah.
So, and let me know if this is incorrect. Your family's more so, your family's American, kind of middle class.
Yeah.
My family, they are from the Caribbean. I'm the only one born in the U.S. So keep that in mind as far as backgrounds too also.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So that's our background, and now we pretty much make about the same thing. So we're both working full time. We make about the same thing now, and that's a function of the fact that I've been in my career for 20 years, and Z's 2 years out of residency as a family medical physician. So I'm kind of like at the plateau ish of my of where I am in my career. Go ahead.
And I'm in the beginning. Now, with us getting married, I think I was always of the mindset that I wanted to get a house together. There were certain things that I think was on my wish board with becoming an attending physician. And one was getting a home together. When I met Charles, he already had his home and it was great. We live there currently, but I think I was coming in to the relationship with the mindset that eventually we would get a home together. That
Yeah.
was a big deal for me. In addition, we had to come to, I guess, a compromise what we were going to do with our finances, whether they were going to be separate or whether we were going to merge our finances. I was coming from, I think, the viewpoint it was okay to have separate finances. I kind of grew up with the mindset that, you know, your partner could leave at any point. So it's kind of a good idea to make sure you have your finances set up, kept separate, so there was no mingling or confusion of finances. Charles, on the other hand, I think came with a little bit of a different viewpoint than I did.
Yeah, with my prior relationship, my wife who passed, she didn't work. I made all of the money, and so the we obviously commingled our finances. But the way that I worked things with her was we had a joint bank account, and all the money I made went to the joint bank account. She paid all the bills. Basically, she managed the finances, but I made the money, and and I found that worked out very well because there was never a transparency issue because she saw everything. And so I made everything, she saw everything. And to me, that worked out very well.
Yeah, it made me uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. It made me uncomfortable, like mingling of funds. But I think eventually, after talking and realizing how, from a legal standpoint, how it works as far as if, God forbid, we were to ever split or Charles was to lose his mind, how that would work, I think I was comfortable with us merging our funds together.
So
And
we
like
so we
Charles,
we merged our
we
finances.
did. And it's fine. I think every now and then, though, we come across a little bit of bump in the road,
Yeah.
so to speak. I think, for one, I'm the type, if my family needs something, I'm okay with giving a small portion of money to them. And I try to let him know what my plans are, to be transparent because we do share an account together. But I think that makes Charles a little uncomfortable. And maybe you can speak to that. What makes you uncomfortable?
Uh, yeah, I don't know if that makes me uncomfortable. It's different because with my family, is a little more fortunate in that everybody kind of has their own stuff going financially, and they're kind of able to take care of themselves. So we don't share similar. I'm not going to say problems. We don't share similar, pressures in that aspect. I view Z's family as my family, so I don't usually have a problem with us, giving some money to the family. It's just a little bit different from what I'm used to, historically with my family. I know one thing that gives me pause when it comes to our joint finances is when we started our relationship, I'd done a pretty good job of saving. I owned a company. I sold it. I've put some money away. I was kind of in a position where I wouldn't have to work for a lot longer if I didn't care to. I'm 43 years old now, and so you know. With my own finances, I could probably work for like another 10 years or something, and then not really have to worry too much. So that's kind of the position was in when we got together. And I thought, okay, so Z is a physician. We're both going to work as professional people. We're going to have a very good shared financial. We're going to build a lot of finances together. And so now, but her situation is a little bit different in that she can't work from home. I work from home. So I get to see the kids a lot.
Yeah.
When the kids need something at school, like just last week, our son fell in the mud at school, and so he needed a new pair of pants. And so I stopped what I was doing and I got him a new pair of pants and ran him up to the school. She can't do that because she's at a clinic seeing patients,
Yeah.
and so from
It's a
time to
lot less flexible compared to his work situation. Yeah.
So a lot of the time she talks about, or not a lot of the time, but sometimes she talks about, gee, I wish that I was spending more time with the children. I wish that I wasn't, away at work so much. And sometimes that can bother me with the joint finances because I'm kind of like, when I came in, I'm thinking, okay, we're both going to work full time and we're going to, we're both going to pull our weight in this joint situation.
Now, keep in mind, a lot of time I say when I do say that, it's out of frustration, right? Because one, I'm aware that there's a large amount of debt that I took out to go to medical school, and I don't think I'm of the mindset that I would have him work super hard to take over that loan. And two, I enjoy working. I mean, I get frustrated, but there's a certain amount of accomplishment that I feel with work. Now, there's a lot of days I will say that I wish I didn't have to work as much or for so long. But for the most part, I'm usually joking or saying that out of frustration. So I don't think I would ever, at least right now, completely stop working. I think I really want to pay down the student loans and get our home first before talking about reducing hours. I think a part of me enjoys my profession and I feel like I can give back to others. Um, I'll let you go. I just lost my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we've talked about a little bit about what bothers us or what are kind of the trials and tribulations of joint finances.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I really like about joint finances is the transparency, the fact that we have one bank account that we're both on, and we just both look at it, and we can see everything that we pay for. We don't currently do separate accounts. I've heard some friends talk about how they and their spouse will have like a joint account, and then they'll each have like a separate account, and then somebody goes into the joint account, somebody goes into the separate accounts, and so it kind of allows them to have like joint finances, but have like some autonomy too. We don't have separate accounts. We just have one joint account, but then we each have credit cards. And so we pay for our own things on credit cards, and then we just pay off the credit card bill. But we don't actually have like separate personal
Talk
accounts.
about from a legal aspect though, because even you're not a lawyer, but even if you have separate accounts, people think you can just walk away with what's in your account and the other person doesn't get anything if you were to separate from your partner,
Yeah.
which it's not technically the case,
No, no,
right?
no, no. So physical control. Now again, I'm not an attorney. I'm an actuary, but I deal with financial stuff a lot. And to me, unless you have a prenuptial agreement or a postnuptial agreement, physical control over the money really isn't such a big thing because like if during our relationship we accumulate $500,000, but she happens to have like $300,000 in her account and I have $200,000 in my account. Um, if we ever go to get divorced, they're going to say, okay, you guys have accumulated $500,000, and they're going to say you get 250 and you get 250. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that she has X in her account and I have Y in my account. So to me, unless you've done some kind of a pre or post nuptial agreement, it's just silly the idea of like, oh, I have more money if I have money in my account versus in like a joint account.
Now, that being said, I'm not against having separate accounts. For example, if I was 15 years into my profession or 20 years, I ideally wouldn't be against having separate finances, right? We could have an account where we pool our funds, but if I accumulated assets and all of that, I would be okay with operating things separately. I don't think that's hiding or being deceptive in regards to that. I just feel like if we're both coming in as two established individuals, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, and also with our kids, so the two kids that I had with my prior wife, she passed away, and Z adopted those kids. So there are no kids from a prior relationship, as you would say. All three of our children are our children. They're all of our responsibility. I could see having separate finances if, like, for example, I had an ex-wife who I shared these two older children with, and she and I were paying together for their expenses, but then Z and I had expenses for our child. I could totally see how, like,
Yeah, yeah,
separate finances might work out better there,
yes,
because you kind of have like different pools of money that are going for different things. But with us, all our kids are our kids.
yes, yes. What would you say would be in the next 5 years? What are your financial goals for us as a couple?
In the next 5 years, well, we want to get a house together.
Yes.
Yeah, because it was nice the fact that I owned a house, and I think it was convenient that when Z got out of residency, I had a place that she could just move into, where the
Yeah.
kids were already in school, things were
But it's
established.
something as a lady as far as buying your home with your husband. I think that's just like with having a marriage for some people, not for everybody. Having children with your partner, it's a part of having a marriage. For me, having a home that we both have chosen together, I think it's really important for me. And I appreciate, the home where we live now, but I want something that I've, put my own little, pizzazz on, that I put, that I made a decision about. I think that's really, really important for me, getting a home. And then, of course, yes, we're already trying to save for retirement and things like that too. So,
Yeah, in 5 years, I definitely want us to be in the home that we've purchased together. Whether that's here or in another city or wherever that happens to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
But then, as far as financial goals on top of that, I don't know if I have a particular like amount goal.
For me, I have a large amount of student debt. So for me, it's really paying
Yeah,
that off. I'm paying very aggressive. Um, what would you say? I'm probably paying 3 times as much as what I need to pay as far as my student
yeah,
loans go. So super aggressive. So I'm hoping within the next 3 to 4 years to really pay that down.
you
So I
should pay it
think
off in 3 years.
in 3 years, yeah,
Yeah,
that's going to be that's a really high goal for me. That I think if I stay in the same path, is very, it's very possible that I reach
yeah.
there also. And for our youngest one, we need to set up a
Five twenty nine.
529. Yes. Do you want to tell
Yep.
me what a 529 is for
Yeah,
those who don't know?
yeah. So if a 529 is a college savings plan. You fund it with after tax money. You don't get a tax advantage for the money that you put in. You don't get a deduction for putting it in. But the advantage is that, especially if you fund it early, money that's taken out of it, you don't pay taxes on the income. So, for example, if you put a good chunk of money in for your kids when they're like 1 or 2 years old, then it's going to grow, for 16 years, 15, 16 years until they get to college. And then they can take distributions from that, and you don't pay taxes on the income. And ideally at that point in time, 3/4 of the money in the account is going to be income. And so that's really a strong multiplier for getting your kids college funded. So anyway, we did that for the two older kids when they were 1 and 2. Well, I did that. I didn't know Z back then.
Yeah.
But then we need to do that for our little guy.
Yes, we do. Well, anyway, guys, now I think we're rambling a little bit. We
Yeah,
just want to have a quick little talk in the Costco parking lot about finances, because I think it's a major thing in relationships where it
yeah.
can either make you or break you. If you guys have any comments or feedback, please put it below. And remember to,
Like and subscribe.
all right, talk to you later.